Sherinata is a transformational coach, energy healer, intuitive guide, author, and speaker who has spent over 15 years helping women and families reduce stress, improve well-being, and master personal transformation. After surviving her own life challenges, including losing her husband to brain cancer and later surviving a brain tumor, she began educating people on how to live healthier in our digital age and how emotional and environmental stressors impact overall health. She is the creator of programs like Blast Off to create your magic and other energy mastery tools that help people break mental and emotional blockages so they can live with greater confidence and fulfillment. Sherinata also serves as founder CEO of Corellia Creations, providing products and guidance for healthier living, and shares her message through workshops, coaching, and speaking engagements. Today, we are going to end the conversation talking about how to get protected from 5G technology and cell phone radiation. So important. And that valuable information, as well as discount codes and links, will be in the show notes. Sherinata, welcome to the Healing and Sharing podcast. Thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jen. It's so exciting to be here too. We have, every time like we just said, every time we connect, we have so much to say and we keep learning more and more.
Absolutely. And one day, a little backstory for everybody is we actually met at PodFest in front of a beautiful hot fire because it was cold in Orlando at that time.
Yes, it was.
And it was great. And we didn't have a whole lot of time to chat, but this is the power of the follow-up. And you and I both followed up with each other and became committed to conversation and then taking it a step further and, coming on and sharing your journey on my podcast. So truly, I'm grateful.
Yes, me too, because everything happens in divine timing when we show up in alignment.
Absolutely. As a child, you started to receive these messages.
Yeah, I was always tuned in to intuition. I've always been receiving messages from, a little girl. And then as I grew up, being in middle school and high school, I didn't want to be weird. So I kind of put it away and hid it and didn't let people know about it. I shouldn't have never done that.
Did you tell your parents when you were a child?
Yes, my mom knew. She embraced it. Although we grew up Catholic, she was a recovering Catholic, as they call them sometimes. Went through the 12-step. I need to, I don't want to be a Catholic anymore, to work on herself. And so I was pretty much raised in middle part of my life, like middle school, high school with Louise Hay, Wayne Dyer, somebody would call it the New Age time, which was all about positivity and, looking at the world in a different way and reflecting on yourself, and so there was a lot of quotes all around the house and things like that mixed with spirituality. I was born with a cup half full. I'm always like the rose-colored glasses. I didn't have a ton of traumas, like huge, big things. But because of this lying to myself and hiding my gifts, it created traumas in my life because this is what I attracted. This is the law of attraction like no other. My first boyfriend, he was a liar. He just lied about small little things but it was constant. It was so obvious. I'm like, oh my God, why are you so ridiculous? Because you're such a liar. And so then I met another one and I'm like, wow, you're such a liar. You lie about everything. I'm like, what the heck?
And how old were you at this time?
This is high school.
Oh, high school.
Okay. And going into college. And then in college, I fell in love and with my, somebody I really, really adored. And, he was a pilot and came from a nice, well-to-do family, and he was the middle child, and he was an adventurous, and he was really fun. And, and I'm kind of the same way. And Come to find out, he was probably the biggest liar of them all, next to me, lying to myself the whole time. Because this is, we're like moths to the flame. This is what we do until we're in our alignment. And come to find out that he literally was an arsonist, and he was burning down buildings and lighting up fires and cars. And it was horrifying, and I did not know this. And then I was witness to an entire beach that went on fire, that he, we went to this bonfire at night, and he's like, oh, this is so romantic, blah, blah, blah. Stay in the car, and I'll go put the fire out. And as we leave, I see in the background in the rearview mirror, a huge fire, like wildfire going on. That was scary. It was fearful. And I'm like, what am I doing with this man? Well, come to find out that there was other stories that were attached to that. And when I left, I ended up leaving that area, and I came back home after college because I didn't want to go back and be with him. And even though everybody else around me was telling me that, we think, he's the one doing all this stuff, but, there's a pattern going on. Well, I don't want to see the pattern. And we all know there's patterns in life, right? Follow the patterns. The truth is revealed. That's when one thing led to another, and I was depositioned. And I said, well, yes, okay, these things happened, and they couldn't believe it. They're like, well, I said, listen, there's people involved. This is very important that he does not know who we are, where we're coming from, and please keep this all silent. Well, that did not happen. Even though he was arrested, he was out on bail or whatever for the arson. And then he went and murdered my ex-roommate with a knife. They opened the door, he went in, he murdered her. There's another girl there, and he, stabbed her almost to death, but she survived. Needless to say, here I am in my young 20s, devastated because I caused this. This was me, as my thoughts, my words, my actions going through my life. And I had massive reflection, like, what did I do? What did I do in my life? How did I get here? How is this all happening? And I had to do some deep, deep work on myself, because I knew that I was undeserving of these type of people in my life. I started doing the work and reflection, and I went to see a couple coaches. I started journaling for myself and listening to my journals of spirit coming through, God, whatever you believe in. But I know that this was the truth coming through, and started really looking into my reflection of my world. And I realized I had been lying to myself. Therefore, I kept escalating.
How old were you?
22.
22. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is a lot in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot.
In your healing journey, you recognized, okay, this wasn't my fault.
Oh, that took a long time. I never went to a psychologist, to talk about it. I went to hardcore, coaches, and did my own healing work through learning some of my own certifications that I went to, just so I can do deep dives on myself, learning it myself. And yeah, that was the hardest, to cut the cord on that attachment, because the guilt that I carried was so deep and very, very hard to cut. And I felt guilty for many, many, many years. And I think that's the biggest thing that people, for me, that I had to understand was like, it is not my fault. That was his actions, not mine, but in its life is a journey. It's a tapestry. Yeah. And then I ended up meeting my husband, and because of the work I was doing, I met a great, great guy. He was amazing. And now I'm like 24, and we fell in love, and that was really cool. He was also a middle child, but his family was atrocious. Liars. And it I was one separation. So I'm like, wow, I did really good. I met the great guy, but then it's the family. and I'm like, whew, well, at least I know I did the work. I need to do some more. Because to me, my mantra in life is totally, and it makes so much sense. And until right now did I realize, wow, it really goes back to a long time ago. I say I raise my children this way. My vibe attracts my tribe. Who you vibe with, your tribe, that's who you're attracting. And you want to get out of it, change who you are. I did get married to, my husband I fell in love with after working on myself and meeting this great, great guy. And then we had a child. and I had to medically abort the child because the child was going to die when it was born. There we go again, right?
Yeah, we can sit with that. I can't imagine. I can't imagine the emotions that are attached to that for both you and your husband, you know?
Yeah, that was pretty intensive, and I did not understand why that was happening, until, I think later in life you think about things. And I think the most beautiful thing was and I tell this to people, it's the biggest gift was my gynecologist, who was my doctor, at the time, my obstetrician. And he's like, do you want to hold the baby? And the baby now is, mind you, a little baby, right? But like I said, it was going to die when it hit the air because it had anencephaly and spina bifida, which meant the whole entire back of the head and the back of the back, the whole spine and back of the skull will not form. So when it hits the air, it will die. And so he recommended aborting the child and, rather than carrying full term. He's like, do you want to hold the baby? And I'm like, no, I don't want to hold the baby. I don't want to. He goes, you really should hold the baby. He says, this is very healing. He said, I've done this a million times. This is how, this is going to be the best thing for you. I'm like, okay, fine. And I held that little child, that little fetus in my hand, in the palm of my hand, the whole thing. And I turned it over. It was a little boy. And I was like, wow, all the features, everything was there, just like a full-grown baby. But then I turned it over and I saw the whole back of it all opened. And I just thought, wow, what a gift. To this day, I'm so grateful for him having me do that, because it gave me closure in a way of like no other, and it was like, where I'm able to forgive the situation because I understood this wasn't meant to happen to come full term. It's okay, and to release it. So the healing process to me was really important. Closure on any level with grief is the most important thing.
Grief can be debilitating, and I find that with any triggers, like we can think that they're over and then something will occur and it'll bring back the memories and bring back the emotion attached with it. And then part of the healing journey then is how to safely and healthily process through those emotions. Would you say that was your journey?
Wow, I just had a huge aha, massive. You know what? Because the work I did with the murder and feeling everything was my fault and the guilt of carrying all that, because of the clearing, which I did clear for a long time, and I did not really have the guilt that it was my fault. That's huge. I just thought of that. Wow. That's why it's so important to clear this stuff.
Now, let me ask you, because people are listening, they're going to be like, oh, what the heck is she talking about, clearing this stuff? I don't understand. Can you take us into a little bit about what clearing looks like?
So, we can have, people call them big traumas or little traumas. All traumas are the same thing, right? The things that we carry with us, the guilt, the shame, the hurt, the sadness, the grief, the anger, all those little feelings that we're not good enough. How can I? Why is this happening? How am I showing up this way? Why do these things keep happening to me, right? All those things, whether it's small because somebody said that you weren't good enough, or you just didn't think you were because you didn't get good grades, or maybe your sibling said something to you, or maybe you truly had physical massive abuse, so it can go from tiny little emotional to really big things, but they all show up the same way. We can't take away our history. It's always going to be there, but we can neutralize the pain that's attached to it, so we're not affected by it anymore. And I think that's really important, so we can find joy in place of sadness. So we can find, and feel, happiness and love where we have separation, and guilt. That's what we're here on this earth for. We're not on this earth to suffer. we're not supposed to be suffering. We're supposed to be living in abundance and true happiness. I mean, gosh, we have this beautiful world that's filled with trees and water and birds and life and love. And we can, when we're happy, when we eat together, we're happy and we socialize and we laugh. And like living alone isn't fun. Living with people and with people that are, our tribe that we vibe with, it's like, that's the high life. And that's what we're intended to do on this earth.
Yes. And, I find I was talking about this with coffee yesterday with one of my friends is that because we were sitting there and she was like, how did we meet again? Like, she was like, I don't remember. And it actually was my husband. He was like, Jen, you really need to meet this lady. And I was like, okay. And so we met. But I sat there and I said to her, I said, there's a reason bigger than us that we are sitting here having coffee, and it may reveal itself later in our conversation. It could be months down the road. It could be a year down the road, but it will reveal itself. Sometimes people are not meant to permanently be in our life. Maybe they're only there for a season because you're supposed to teach them something or you're supposed to learn something from them. And then they just kind of go on their way.
Season and a reason. That's what I always say. There's a season for people and a reason for people.
I love your sayings. I know. Going back to, the love of your life, your husband, who then was diagnosed with a brain cancer and sadly passed away. And then you end up with your own medical emergency. How did you neutralize those negative emotions? Because now you have grief yet again. You have loss. How did you persevere?
It's just, you know what? I believe it's just doing the work, tools in the toolbox. That's all it is, knowing that life is, I'm going to go back to this again. We are meant to come into this world for a reason. We are meant, just like we said, we are meant to meet people in this world for a reason. And we take what we need and we go. And I always say for the highest good, for the highest purpose. I met my husband. We fell in love. We had a child. He passed away when my son was only 1 year old with brain cancer. He was an electrician. He was surrounded by energy and electricity. I didn't understand at the time, right? I didn't understand. He was healthy. He wasn't, it was a glioblastoma. It was very, uncommon, but common. When the study was done back in the early 90s, electricians have the highest rate of glioblastoma brain tumors than any other brain tumor, which I didn't find out until later. And I just thought to myself back then, I remember, I was doing energy healing on him and I was just like, really feel it being in a spiritual place. And I'm just like, there's a reason for everything. I love you. I don't want to say goodbye. But yet I don't understand the reason, but I know there's a reason for everything. And I thank you for being in my life and bringing me my son. And so we can move on and figure out, like, what is this all about? Because there is a reason.
You do have a beautiful son. As he grew up and he had questions about, where's my dad? How did you navigate those questions?
That's easy. He's the angel daddy.
Oh, I love
so
that.
He has an earth daddy and an angel daddy. And he's always there with him, watching him. And even when I raised my daughter, even though she had a different biological father, she recognized that there was still another angel daddy around. I'm going to go back to neutralizing emotions, not suppressing, but we're talking about releasing. Dancing is a great way to release. Going outside to the beach is a great way to release. I'm going to go back to neutralizing emotions, not suppressing, but we're talking about releasing. Dancing a great way to release. Going outside to the beach is a great way to release. Crying is a great way to release. Knowing that you're able to suffer in a moment but not carry that suffering forever is a release. And that was always my tools. And so then little did I realize when I wasn't feeling well, a couple of years later, that's when I found out about EMF radiation and how it's affecting our life because somebody told me about it. This is going back to 2014. Nobody's talking about it really then because we were only on like 3G back then, 4G. A flip phone, man.
Yeah.
it's like, wow. So somebody introduced me to something called shungite, and they're like, this neutralizes, going back to the word neutralize, let's neutralize pain, let's neutralize and shift that energy, right? So this is what it would do. It neutralizes the energy that's, coming from our electronics. All of a sudden, like literally within a week, I was feeling better. I'm like, what? What is this all about? This is amazing. And of course, because I'm doing life coaching now and I'm at my height of it, I'm like, everybody needs this. So I started making stickers to go on cell phones and educating people about it, because that's just the type of person I am, getting passionate about what I do, making jewelry that incorporates it too. And here, everybody get a chakra bracelet. And, it's going to help your body. It's going to help your mind. It's going to help your spirit and neutralize radiation while you're at it. So help your physical body too. We know what happened in 2020. And I just said, I can't, everybody's behind their computers. Everybody needs to know about this. So I kind of left the life coaching behind. And I made a shift in full time into creating jewelry and accessories to neutralize the radiation that's coming from our electronics, so we could live healthy in a digital age. And that's when I started really educating people and started growing the business in a different way. And little did I know, in 2021, I was going to have to go to the hospital for my own brain tumor and get that out of my body for emergency brain tumor surgery. And I was literally released out of the hospital in 24 hours after brain surgery, of getting a tumor the size of a plum out of my brain, where I couldn't even lift up my hand over my head, and my foot was dragging at that time before I went into surgery. He says, what are you doing? He said, because you literally, you have no side effects at all. And I said, I'm just doing the work. I was listening to, energy music, sound healing music. I was doing, going ahead again, doing the work on myself. I told my friends and family, I don't want anybody feeling sorry for me. I don't want any empathy coming my way. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I don't want to hear it, because that's low vibration. Just raise me up.
Yep.
Raise me up, make me laugh, and let me do the work myself. And so I used all my tools in my toolbox, and literally I was out and walking away. And he even wrote in his notes, he goes, miraculous recovery.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You speak about your toolbox a lot. What is one actionable step that somebody listening can take away and begin doing right now?
Our actionable step is finding peace. When you can find peace within your body and you can shut out the chaos, that is one of the biggest pieces that you could possibly ever do in your life. That's the biggest gift you can give to yourself. Because when you're in that space, you can find white light, God's light, the energy of the universe, the light that comes from the stars and the galaxy, which we are all nanoparticles of that. Bring it into your body and light it up. And that's how we heal.
To people who are like, I don't believe that works, what do you say to them?
It's your journey. It's your journey. If you like it, I always tell people, listen, if you love how your life is working out for you, go for it. Just stay the way you are. I prefer to know that. I don't want what happened to my first husband to happen to me or my children or my friends and family. This is why I do what I do. Keep a clear channel. Keep the electronics, how do you live healthy in a digital age? It's all the same thing. How do you live healthy in a spiritual age? How do you live healthy in a spiritual body? We're not going to get in the car and not put our seatbelt on. If we don't take care of our car isn't going to work. It's the same thing with ourselves. It's the same thing with our cells of our body. It's the same thing with our thoughts, our words, our actions, and how we, take care of ourselves in this world. In electronics, there is energy coming out of electronics, and it literally affects our body. It is a chaotic field, because when we listen to the news, we know it's chaos. When we go in peace, when we're at the computers, it's a chaotic field. We can feel it. And sometimes we have to walk away because we're like, oh my gosh, it's pulling us in. When we're scrolling aimlessly on reels on social media, or you're listening to the news all day long, how do you feel? You're dumbing yourself down, right? You're not actively being a part of society and life, and it's a chaotic field. Come back in.
Yeah, you're not present.
Yes. Energy is everything.
And what we look at and when we spend our time scrolling through, whether we realize it or not, is going to create an emotional reaction. You know, I've seen that.
One thing I want to share that I forgot to share is that, like, one piece that connects a lot of it together is that when I got the biopsy from my tumor, which was not cancerous, thank goodness it was benign, it was a type 2 meningioma brain tumor. That type of brain tumor, usually women do not get. They get the type 1, which is very, very, very slow growing over years and years and years and years. The type 2 is much quicker, and it was growing at an 18% growth rate. We rolled back the math, and literally my 1 centimeter brain tumor that I had, which is exactly the time when I wasn't feeling well. So it was when I wasn't feeling well, my side effect from a 1 centimeter brain tumor was, lethargy, brain fog, not feeling well, which happened after about a year or two after I built my home office. And that type tumor usually occurs on Black men over 60. I am neither of those, or people surrounded by a lot of radiation. It's really important for people to think about, now that my home office was off of my bedroom. So my body never had time to heal. It never had time to get out of chaos and be at peace because the energy was always there. The radiation of the computers, the Wi-Fi, all the technology was always there. And it's really important, like one key point, because I've been speaking about this for over 10 years and researching it. No, your Wi-Fi router should not be in your room, or it should not be in your home office. It needs to be in a space where you are not near it, at least 8 to 10 feet from your body. If you can, have a kill switch or shut your Wi-Fi off at night while you're sleeping. It's not a one-size-fits-all scenario. So if you're living in the suburbs or the city or, the country, it's all different. But yet, where we're going into this world is 5G going to 6G that they're talking about already, which is, it's just, I'm sorry, it's a little ridiculous, but that's another conversation. Yeah. So that's like another hour conversation.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking about how we grew up with power lines running through our yard. And now at least you can have underground utilities, which is good. We try to look for that, whenever we're looking to buy a house. But you're right. Our router is not that far behind me. And I'm like, oh, never thought about it because it's just a part. I don't know. It's like a decoration in the room. You know what I'm saying? Box. It's just like, oh, yeah, absolutely. It's closed off in a little cupboard so you don't see it, but it's still giving off all of that radiation.
So, yes. So people either, as much as they're trying to go to wired, they use Faraday cages for this and that. But the thing is that with 5G, there's like small cell towers everywhere, and, where there's zero lot lines or the suburbs or the city, you're going to get it whether you're keeping your home protected in your own home and you're wired in, you're going to be getting it from everybody else around you. Or the smart meters that are on your homes, that are on the sides of the home. There's so much that goes into it. It's a lot of thinking. And that's why I created my little ebook, which makes it easy. And I'm giving that away for free on the link. That will be in the show notes. You'll have to make 2 separate, because there will be a discount code too for any products that anybody's interested in. I just try to make it easy and say, look, here's like a essentials kit. Just get yourself started, or get a sticker, just put it on your phone. Little small steps will make a difference in your life, just like with your diet, just like with your thoughts, everything, shifting a little bit is a huge difference. So, don't go down the rabbit hole getting yourself all overwhelmed with it. And by the way, there's so many people are naysayers about it now. A lot of things have been scrubbed on. I'm just saying it, and this is the truth because we all know that. Last year, there was a lot of scrubbing on the internet with protocols and studies and, medical studies and things like that. And a lot of this stuff was shifted and it's not as available, the studies. You can go to Environmental Health Trust, ehtrust.org, environmentalhealthtrust.org. They're phenomenal. It's the entire website. They're huge advocates, and it's literally run by doctors and scientists. Yeah, it's really important to learn about it and open your eyes to a different world that you don't hear about online.
Sherinata, you've provided so much valuable information, and thank you so much for sharing your journey with us as well. I know in the beginning you said you were nervous. Can I ask how you feel now?
I feel great. And
Good.
yeah, thank you. That's a good question. I do feel good. It is a relief to talk about it. It's interesting, my own ahas that I got out of it. And I know that, it will help others. The story helps others.
Absolutely. How you feel is so important to me, to be honest with you. So thank you for sharing. Small steps. I love that. That's kind of the message that you ended with. Exactly. Start with a little sticker on your cell phone and go from there and educate yourself. Sherinata, thank you for being my guest today on the Healing and Sharing podcast.
I'm so happy to be here too. Thank you.
Absolutely. And for those listening, thank you for joining us on this journey to learn anything and everything. Visit the website, thehealingandsharing.com. And remember, you are stronger than you think. Until next time.